I hate having to set it up like that, but I have to make sure it's recording in the first place. Alright, so this is my update without any bandages, any stitches. The swelling's gone down quite a bit. There's still just a little bit, mainly on the right side of my nose. But other than that, you know, the swelling's pretty much gone down 95%. What happened in this surgery was they pretty much cut into my forehead and went down to my nose and shaved off a little bit. They didn't go down far enough that I'd like them to, but they took a lot of extra bone out right here, and I guess I had a titanium plate with titanium screws on the bridge of my nose, which got taken out as well. And then they kind of tucked my inner eyelids because there was a lot of red, you know, like the inner eye showing, and that's pretty much taken away. You know, it looks pretty good to me. And then they also tucked the neck, which they actually did a really good job on tucking the neck. I used to have, well, it's the second tuck on the neck that I've had, but I still had kind of like a sagginess, you know, where it looks like, you know, I had like a 50 or 60-year-old chin. No offense to, you know, the older people out there, but, you know, at my age of 32, I shouldn't have a saggy chin, you know. Even the surgeon said that. What's to come on further surgeries? One doctor was talking about doing something with the chin area to give me a more predominant chin, like I used to have. Maybe even using a chin implant, which I'd rather go a more natural route and maybe take like a little bit of bone or muscle from somewhere else and then just putting it underneath, you know, and tighten it all in and securing it. But if they have to go with, you know, a chin implant, then I'm cool with that. At least, you know, I can look at it and be able to pick out the chin that was closely next to the one that my old one used to look like. I also want them to go in again, probably not from up here, but they'll probably go to the inner nose and take out more of the bone on the right lower side of my nose, which I think that would help tremendously. Other than that, those are the only two, you know, revision surgeries I have planned. Now, if the doctors put more things on the table, and if they sound good to me, then I'll probably do them. The next thing I was going to talk about is my book, which I already have about 100 pages into a 500 plus page biography or autobiography. I've done some research on it, and at least 500 pages is a good autobiography, so I'm shooting for 500 or more, and I really can't guarantee it. It's not going to be released for another 2 years. It's been 2 years since the transplant, and I think 2 more years would honestly give me a better backstory. I'm not even sure if I'm going to go through a publishing company, and if I do, I'm not going to let them change anything that I've written. You know, I might let them change, you know, which chapter goes here, which chapter goes here, and, you know, make the chapters fit better in a timeline. But I'm not going to have them change anything that I've written because I want it to come out from my experience and, you know, from my point of view. I don't want them adding things in or taking things out. You know, it's going to be my story in my words, and he typed it, you know, so I think 4 years is a good after story. You know, I already have a good, you know, the accident after the accident, the 9.5 years between the transplant and the transplant, and I have a 2-year after story, but I just figured 4 years would be probably a better after story, and I could probably fly past that 500 page mark. So who knows? But expect it in about 2 years. Well, not about, probably 2 years. Since April, because that's when I got the transplant. I also said I was going to do a Q&A during this one too, and I think I have 18 questions to go through. I had the questions written down, so I didn't have to go through Facebook, you know, to my various pages and find them. So here goes nothing. Question number 1, how hard was it to get used to the new face? Not that hard, really. I mean, when I first woke up, it felt like I was wearing a mask, and my sensation wasn't really there. I mean, it was totally numb, but the 5 days I was in the burn ICU unit or whatever, like, I started regaining my sensation, like, I used to be able to tickle my mustache, tickle my eyebrows. I mean, I didn't have great sensations back, but I could feel, like, me touching, like, my facial hair and my eyebrows, and I could actually feel like the tickleness of it. Now, if I pinched my skin or something, it wouldn't hurt. Like, I just pinched it now and it hurt. Question number 2: any grieving for the old me? Maybe just a little, just to kind of see, the differences of my life now and my life, how my life would have been if the accident never happened. Now, would I go back and change it? No. I mean, if I did, that girl might not survive, or, someone could have died that day. So, and I've been asked, would I ever do it again? Since I don't remember doing it, I probably would do it again, because this is just how time flows. Third question: was my vision affected? Not at all. I still have 20/20 vision. My doctor says I have better than 20/20. I'm not sure what you'd call that. Something like eagle eyes or something. It's either 10/20 or 20/10. I've had my eyes checked a few times since the accident, which you would think, that much electricity exiting my face, that big to do it, it just got solidified, because your eyes are basically made of just water. But no, my vision's actually pretty great. First question: do I look like myself? I look like a hunter, which is my last name. Like, you can see my hunter traits showing through. I probably don't look exactly like I would at 32 if I never got in the accident, but I think it looks a lot better than looking like a zombie, which I did for 9.5 years before the transplant. That's pretty much how I can answer that question. I mean, it's kind of hard to say. I mean, I do look, people say I look like my older brother, and I tell my surgeon all the time, like, hey, I need another transplant, and they're telling me I look like my older brother, which is more joking than anything. I mean, he's not that bad of a looking guy, but, I was always a better looking hunter. Has the donor family mentioned, or this is question number 5, has the donor family mentioned any similarities? Only in the eyebrows. Like, I never had this thick eyebrows, and I guess the donor, that was one of his complaints, and he probably did the same thing I do. Like, I've learned how to trim them down. I mean, I'm still learning, so they don't look great right now. And plus, I just got home, and I haven't done any kind of maintenance, really. I mean, I shaved a little bit and, whatnot. Number 6, did I experience being a recluse or like a hermit or whatever? For the first 4 months, for the first 4 years, after the transplant, I did, because I was in North Carolina. I didn't let any of my friends there come to see me, because it's not friends I grew up with. Pretty much it was just me and my Pitbull Goku. So, I mean, I stayed home a lot, did a lot of stuff on the internet, played Counter-Strike, got on the Yahoo chat rooms, took people's names, just had fun. That was my way to connect to society, was the internet. Now, when I moved home, the last 5.5 years became pretty easy. Like, my friends and family wouldn't let me stay home. They wouldn't let me be by myself. So the more I went out, the easier it got. And, in the meantime of the accident and transplant, I ended up having 3 kids with 2 girls, and 2 good-looking girls at that. I mean, I had become so comfortable with myself, by the time that by the time the transplant happened, I was already comfortable with who I was, with the way I looked. I mean, I could have gone my whole entire life without getting the transplant, and I would have been happy. I that was my biggest fear after the accident, I suppose, was never having kids. And once I had kids, I was like, well, there goes that fear. Now, what's weird is that I had more confidence the day before the transplant than I did, let's say, a couple months ago. Now, my confidence is pretty much back to where it was. Well, not to where it was, and that's another question which I'll get to, but I would like to answer that question the best I can. I was a recluse for the first 4 years. After that, going out, and every time I went out, it became easier. So, 40% of the time I was a recluse, 60% I wasn't, and I stopped caring what people said, the stares, whatever. All right, question number 7. What were some of the comments you heard What were some of the comments you heard before and after the transplant? Before, I don't remember one said in particular. There was a lot of mean things said. I mean, I don't want to go that much deep into it. But, I mean, I wasn't treated, that nicely. And once I did start going out, that's when the stares happening. I mean, the worst thing that really hurt me most was little kids being afraid of me. Like, they never say anything derogatory. It was just their fright of me and them being scared of the way I looked. That's what got to me. I mean, adults making comments, whatever. I got used to that, and I made comments back sometimes, I'm not going to lie. After the transplant, like, on some of the interviews I had that were on YouTube, there were people still making fun of the way I looked because I was all swollen. And I guess they obviously didn't know that the swelling would go down after a while. So, they can be ignorant all they want. It really didn't bother me. I replied to a few of them very nicely, too. I mean, I took the high road with it. So that's really what I had to say about that question. Number 8, how sensitive is your skin? Right now, my skin is very sensitive. I can feel hot, cold, I can feel touch, I can feel different variations of touch, pressure, like, touch lightly, push a little more, I can nose, and I'm going to feel it and it hurts. So, like right now, like, if it was my opinion, I have about 100% sensation DAC. So, I mean, pretty damn good, and that's all over the face. Like, I have sensation all over. Compared to some of the others, like I think I have, one of the best sensations that, nerve regeneration that there was out of all the transplants. I'm not saying I am the best. I'm saying I'm one of the best that had sensation come back. Number 9. What do I do to keep healthy skin? For one, I stay out of the sun. And if I am in the sun, I wear 30 SPF or higher. I use a lot of moisturizing lotions on a daily basis, more than once a day. But other than that, I mean, nothing special, nothing like a normal person wouldn't do, except staying out of the sun. I mean, I do miss tanning, I'm not going to lie. Number 10, have I ever had trouble with stitch because of numbness? At the very beginning, yes. I mean, I'm sure some of you saw my interviews. I mean, I actually posted on all my pages the first interview I ever had, and I could barely talk in that because of not the numbness, just the swelling. I mean, if it wasn't for the swelling, the numbness wouldn't have had any kind of effect on my speech whatsoever because I still had a lot of muscles underneath that were mine that worked. The numbness in the face, in the forehead and all that wouldn't have made any difference in the way I talk now. Now, my speech isn't fully back to normal. I'm still working on that, but a lot of people say they can't tell. I mean, I'm not sure what you guys think, but I think I talk pretty clearly. I might talk fast every once in a while, and hopefully this video I've kind of slowed it down because I do have a tendency to talk fast. And about that, I mean, I would say after 6 months to a year, I've been talking just like this. My speech has been great. I know with some others, it's taken them longer because they didn't have as much underlying tissue as I had, and that made it a lot easier for me. I mean, it gave me an advantage on being able to talk clearly and among, sensation and just, a bunch of other stuff. All right, question number 11. 11. Have I had issue? Oh, no, this is a different question. Have I had issues with numbness? Like I stated in the previous question, at first I did, but 3 months after the surgery, I had great sensation and hardly any numbness in the face at all. Not saying my sensation was all like that, but I'd probably give it a good 50% at that time. As far as sensation goes, and seeing others' sensation, bar graphs or whatnot, I'm pretty sure I had the highest in the full face transplant category. I did attend the ARST meeting, and I saw each doctor present their patient, and I got to see, sensation, and when mine got pulled up, like, my whole face was lit up red, and that was just showing where all my sensation was. Number 12, this is a good one. Before the accident, how vain do you think you were? I wouldn't say I was vain per se. I was more cocky, arrogant, overconfident of myself. I mean, not to say that I was the best looking guy in the world, but I mean, I was pretty attractive. This is actually a follow-up question for number 13. How is it now with vanity? You know, the accident really did humble me out a lot. I mean, it made me a better person, to be honest. Having your looks stripped away from you, I mean, there's no way to explain that. I mean, it really does humble you out. It makes you see society from a different point of view, and society as a whole is pretty mean. I mean, I had my looks taken away in a flash, and no pun intended, since it was lightning, you know, lightning flashes, but still, I mean, that's kind of how it got taken away, just like split second. On number 14, do you like the Boston airport? I love Logan International. Like, there's this one bartender, I met him my first trip there, me and my friend Billy. And it was on our way back to Indy. And he was really cool. And like once he found out who I was, like every time I would walk through, I'd be walking by and I'd gonna go to the bar and he's like, "Hey Mitch, how you doing? You know, I want to know updates and whatnot." I'm not sure if he works there now. I've looked for him. I looked for him a few times and haven't seen him for about maybe a year. I'm not quite sure on that one. You know, time kind of intertwines, you know, throughout the last 2 years, because it really doesn't feel like 2 years since the transplant happened. Number 15. You are a hero to a lot of people. How do I take or handle that? You know, I'm not sure really. I don't feel like a hero because I don't remember doing it. I don't remember saving Victoria's life. You know, I don't remember 30 minutes before the accident or 30 days after. The 30 days after is a drug-induced coma. When people call me that, you know, I tell them that I'm not. To be honest, what I think happened, you know, I got blacked out from the initial wreck or something, and to be honest, I think my military instincts kicked in, and then, you know, they teach you to put someone else's life before your own, so I'm guessing that's what happened, so I don't really know. I mean, I don't consider myself a hero, I don't consider myself famous, anything of the sort. Number 16. What is my medication regimen compared to any other transplant? Pretty much the same. Like, I take the same medications they do. I have a friend who had a heart transplant in 2007, and me and him are on about the same dose of Prograf and Cellcept. He had a heart transplant. The question was, you know, compared to kidneys, I think, but I mean, pretty much it's all the same. Like, I take the same medications as, you know, another transplant patient would. So I would say about the same. Now the dosages are going to be different, obviously. Here's a very, very popular one. Have you seen Face Off, and are there any similarities? This has been the most popular one asked. You know, yes, I've seen it, and no, there are no similarities to the movie compared to what I went through. Your bone structure is what makes you look like you. And they also really had to change bodies because their bodies were the same as their counterparts or their counteractors. So a better title for the movie would be like Brain Switch or Brain Swap or something along those lines, because that's pretty much what happened. I mean, you know, they had the same body as the other guy, and pretty much, you know, a better analysis of the movie was, you know, a brain transplant, not a face-off or a face transplant. That's just my opinion. Here's another popular one. How is your sex life? It has its ups and downs. And I had to end this on a fun, you know, on a funny way, so that was my funny way to end it. That question wasn't asked today. It was actually asked on Reddit. I know this one's longer than usual, but, you know, with the Q&A, I kind of had to do it. And people are probably wondering about the hair and why it's so long and why I haven't got it cut or why I don't do anything with it. I'm not going to cut it until the book's finished. Now, at a certain point, I am going to get it undercut because my sides are just, bleh, I hate it. But, and then once I do get it cut, I'm going to donate it to Locks of Love. So I think that'll be a good thing. So, this is me signing off. This is, I'm not sure which update now of the face transplant and book and whatever is clever on what I'm going through. Life in general has been good, you know, just hanging out with the kids, making these stupid YouTube videos. Actually, they're not stupid. It does update a lot of you on, you know, what you would like to know and the questions you ask. Actually, this one's probably been the best one so far because I have answered questions, you know, that were asked by people who probably want to know. Expect another one probably in the next couple weeks, just for the hell of it. I mean, it might not even be about the face transplant. Like, I might read, like, I don't know, the introduction to my book just to see what you guys think about it. So, stay tuned.